You can also switch on the camera, no problem.
Welcome everyone to this event entitled Scaling Up Solutions for Sustainable Wastewater and Nutrient Management. My name is Heidi Sabelli. I'm acting chief of the Source to Sea Pollution Unit with the United Nations Environment Programme. And I'm joined by a number of experts on the topic so that we will have a dialogue on and exchanging on how can we better connect the constituencies that are working on wastewater as well as nutrients. So nutrient management in particular related to nitrogen is gaining more and more importance on the political agenda, with the UN Environment Assembly having 2 resolutions on the topic. Of course, here it's important to recall also the important role of wastewater as both a pathway and a source of nutrients. So there is an opportunity for stronger coordination between wastewater and nutrient management and amongst the experts and stakeholders and policymakers and the implementers of solutions. So this event aims to explore this connectivity and also highlight some of the initiatives and ongoing work that connects these 2 topics. The UNEP has been working on preventing the degradation of freshwater marine ecosystems from land-based sources of pollution, including nutrients and wastewater, for many years. And we are also providing secretariat services for 2 global multi-stakeholder partnerships on these topics, namely the Global Wastewater Initiative and the Global Partnership on Nutrient Management. So these are excellent vehicles of cooperation for partners to come together and address nutrient and wastewater pollution. This event is one of several events that the 2 partnerships are organizing together to further the dialogue and exchange between the constituencies. I will hand over to my colleague, Ricardo, and I welcome you all to the event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Heidi, and a warm welcome also from my end to everyone joining us from all corners of the world. It's really a pleasure to have this event today and to be indeed present at World Water Week discussing nutrients and wastewater. And as Heidi said, it's such an important topic that is gaining more and more importance and will be, of course, at our forefront of circularity in the future years, that we thought it would be absolutely crucial to discuss it during World Water Week. And when it comes to nutrient recovery from wastewater, it's not only about the science, but it's also about other factors that are contributing to making it successful. The governance aspects, but also the financing. And this is exactly what we will discuss today in this short but very important event with esteemed panelists from all corners of the world and also different expertise. I want to, without further delay, then introduce our panelists for the discussions, and allow me to first introduce Dr. Sangeeta Bansal. Dr. Sangeeta Bansal is a project scientist at Sustainable India Trust, and she has very strong expertise in wetland science, nitrogen pollution assessment, and policy analysis. Welcome, Sangeeta. Very happy to see you today with us. We also have with us Dr. Olfa Mahjoub. Olfa is also one of our strong members of the Global Wastewater Initiative, and she's an associate senior researcher and professor at the National Research Institute for Rural Engineering, Water, Forestry in Tunisia at the University of Carthage. Welcome, Olfa. And finally, with us also we have Emmanuel Chaponnier, who is the lead water sector engineer for the Water Security and Resilience Division at the European Investment Bank. Welcome, Emmanuel. Thank you for being with us today. So I would like to start this discussion. We have about 25 minutes to dive into the topic, and with your expertise, I think we will be gaining a lot of knowledge in terms of the many different aspects of nutrient recovery from wastewater, whether this is indeed the governance, whether this is the science or the financing. And I would start with a question to you, Sangeeta. The first question that I think many people would like to sort of pose to anyone who is, an expert in nutrient recovery from wastewater is, what are the challenges that dominate this field? Over to you, Sangeeta.
Hello, everyone. As far as the challenges are concerned, I feel the foremost and the most important challenge is the rising population and the expanding urbanization. Because of this, more and more wastewater is generated, which is far higher than the natural capacity of the purification. Let us consider the urban example of urban population of India, which has increased from 488 millions in 2002 20 to approximately 83 millions in is expected to increase to 83 millions by 2050, which would further generate more and more wastewater and put more and more pressure into our natural resources. So when we talk about this ever increasing population, whatever the treatment capacity we have, it is very far less. So the another important challenge that I found is the lack of sufficient adequate treatment capacity in the countries. Like if we consider the example of India, we have only 44% of installed capacity of the total wastewater generated of about 72,368 mlds. So it is very less, which generates a huge gap of 50 to more than 52,000 mld of the wastewater, which is generally discarded untreated and which is polluting our water bodies. The third important challenge that I found is the technology. In India, most of the STPs are working on the outdated technology of activated sludge process. So there is a need to update this technology. However, another important challenge is the maintenance. If we move to the advanced technologies, we are again facing a problem of lack of equipped labor to work in these advanced units. And another important challenge is the proper lack of funding from the government to maintain these STPs in the proper working condition. And because of these challenges, our actual utilization capacity now is only 28%, which needs to be enhanced so as to have a sustainable nutrient management from the wastewater. The another important challenge that I feel is the sludge disposal. In the countries like India, most of the nutrients are basically recovered in the form of dry sludge or the activated sludge. Though this sludge is very much rich in the inorganic nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, and the potassium, as well as the organic nutrients, it cannot be utilized because of the lack of proper pre-treatment facilities, proper sludge management facilities. So it ultimately disposed of into the landfills. From the landfills, it again pollute our groundwater resources through the seepage into the groundwater and other surface water resources through the precipitation and the rainfall. So there is a need to manage this increased sludge as well. Another important challenge that I look is the lack of proper, distinct, comprehensive policy framework at the national level. Though the Indian government has taken several steps to deal with this challenge of wastewater through the policies like Water Pollution Control and Prevention Act 1974 and the new policies like Amrit 2015, that is Atal Mission for the Regeneration and the Urban Transformation. Still, there is a lack of one whole, complete, comprehensive national framework, which is also needed to be framed as soon as possible for the sustainable nutrient management. And the last challenge that I found is the very low reuse of treated wastewater. In India, approximately 7 to 368 mld of wastewater is generated, but only in most of the state, less than 20% of it is reused. Like in Delhi, it is only reused by 12.5%, it only used by 16% in Chandigarh, and even at the less of 1.5% in the states like Gujarat. So it has to be uplifted if we talk about the sustainable circular economy. The major hurdle that I found in promotion or in increasing the usage or in promoting the usage of this reused water within the society in the countries like India is the social acceptance. People are generally not in a condition to socially accept the to use this treated water. For this, we have to increase the awareness, we have to increase the awareness among the people how this reused and recycled water, if used, can help us to attain the water security as well as the food security. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta. That was very, very clear and very, very, I would say, encompassing of all the challenges that this domain faces, which are a lot. And because of that, let me turn to the other side of the coin, because reuse of wastewater is definitely a paramount to solve many other challenges, and including, of course, the recovery of nutrients is one vehicle to achieve that. So I'm turning to you, Olfa, to sort of get a grasp of the opportunities, because we are indeed advocating, we're pushing for this to happen. We know that this is viable. What are actually the opportunities in terms of recovery of nutrients from wastewater? Over to you, Olfa. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo. Well, I think it's very important, first of all, to highlight some of the main challenges also, because opportunities are there and probably we are not seeing them. So I think that one of the first challenges is also the origin and the composition of the wastewater, since we are working on the wastewater reuse in agriculture. So this is a very important issue, let's say. And one of the opportunities is the increasing human population. So, and this is leading to the increasing need of production of food. And I think in here we need to focus on promoting a kind of, sustainable agriculture. And because this is allowing to close the loop of nutrients, and this will be enhancing the use of environmentally friendly fertilizer and preventing the pollution of the agriculture environment. So I think that first of all, wastewater should be considered really as a source of nutrients that are essential for plants' growth. So we should tap into this resource by using treated effluent for irrigation in such a way that reduces the need of freshwater resources first, as well as the use of synthetic fertilizer, which is really costly and really embedding the environment. So I think that in addition to water, wastewater treatment is producing biosolid, as Sangeeta has mentioned, and this can be used as an organic fertilizer to improve the soil fertility. And also it can improve the water status and nutrient balance in the soil. And thereby we can improve the agricultural productivity, which is something that we need really to improve by the next years. Secondly, I think that nutrient recovery can enhance water quality. So the recovery of nutrient is an opportunity to improve the quality of the treated wastewater, especially if it's discharged into the water bodies, and I think which can benefit to the ecosystem actually. So the removal of nitrogen and phosphorus from the wastewater through different technologies could reduce the impact of the receiving environment, and it could help also mitigate nutrient pollution, which can lead to eutrophication, to algal blooms and oxygen depletion in surface water, as we can see in several countries. So I think here from the lens of the one water approach that we are really claiming, so resource recovery and reuse is one of the main pillars, because the cleaner the water that we are releasing, the safer the water that we can drink actually. And the lower are the costs incurred and the impact on the ecosystem. And I would last here say that circular economy is very important here. It's really big, very big opportunity. So nutrient recovery is aligned with the principle of circular economy by reusing variable resources and reducing waste. So I think these are very important opportunities on the nutrient recovery from the wastewater. Thank you.
Thank you, Olfa. Yeah, that's very important, and thanks for highlighting very, very interesting fact. I think in many cases it's really about the enabling environment and how we scale up this intervention. Sometimes the same challenges can indeed be the opportunities, and it very much also depends on, of course, on the local context. But points well taken, and I think you really, I really like that you already build a bridge between discussing the science and also the aspects of food security and water security. And I want to go back to Sangeeta to ask her a bit more about that in terms of, you mentioned some numbers, Sangeeta, earlier, but what is, in your opinion, the true potential of recovery nutrients for purposes of food security and water security? Might be a huge question, but over to you, Sangeeta.
Hello. Actually, if we talk about the importance of nutrient recovery in ensuring the food security and the water security, I feel the treated water holds an immense potential if it is treated in an adequate way and if they are recovered at approximately 80%. Some of the studies done from the Indian side, I would like to mention one of the report given by the Council on Energy, Environment and Water of India 2023, which says that 8,603 million cubic waters of treated million cubic meters of treated wastewater can be used to irrigate approximately 1.38 hectares of the land, to generate approximately 28 million tons of the horticultural crops, to generate the revenue of around 966 billion. So it holds in very immense potential. And because of these findings, uh, this water has been, currently increased for horticultural practices, as we have noticed in the state of Bangalore in India, where the authorities are using the treated wastewater very successfully for the horticulture purposes as well as for the gardening in the parks like Cuban parks, which covers around 177 acres. Similarly, when we talk about the in terms of fertilizers, we have noticed that nutrients from approximately 8603 million cubic meters of treated wastewater weigh around 6,000 tons. 6,000 of nutrients can recover from this water, which can save approximately INR of 50 million, which we are generally wasting on purchasing the fertilizers. So in that way, we can save this money and attain the sustainability to ensure the food security if we use these nutrients recovered from the wastewater. So this is one of the another important example. And because of this, we have noticed that in the states like Karnataka, the many minor irrigation departments have also promoted the reuse of this treated wastewater for the drought prone districts of Kolar and Chikkabulur for the irrigation. And it also have been found that if the wastewater is used in a sustainable way in the agriculture, it can increase the earnings of the farmer as well by 17,000 per hectares. So in that sense, it holds an immense potential if it is promoted and used in a sustainable way. So it has immense potential to ensure the water security. And if we talk about in the irrigation as well as the reuse of water for the lake regeneration as well. We have noticed in the city like Delhi, Delhi is also promoting the reuse of wastewater for the revival of their lakes under the project like City of Lakes, where they have revived approximately 50 lakes. And one of the good example is the Papakalan Lake that has been recently revived using the treated wastewater generated from the STP of Papakalan. And this lake has the capacity of 50 million gallons water to store, and approximately 20 million gallons of the treated water is fed into the lake every day. And this water is then further improved into the lake and then further supplied to the water treatment plants of the Dwarka, so as to supply to the different industrial units for the non-potable purposes. It also used to recharge the groundwater, and it has been found approximately groundwater has been recharged in the surrounding areas by 4 meters. So these are very good examples which clearly indicate that if we use and if we promote this reuse of wastewater in a sustainable way, it holds an immense potential to save our money spent on the fertilizers, to attain the food security, to save our wastewater, which is generally getting wasted, to ensure the water security as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sangeeta. That was very interesting and very helpful to hear more data about the true potential. And I think there is no question that there is indeed an enormous potential. Now, I want to touch upon a very interesting point, because in all our projects, in all our discussions, it always comes down to, or it's one of the main factors, of course, the financing. And I want to turn to Emmanuel Chaponier from the European Investment Bank, just to ask you one simple question, or depends if it's simple or not, Emmanuel, but in your view, based on EIB's experience and your experience, what is the key to scale up these kind of interventions? And also, if you want to share some good examples from your expertise and portfolio, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ricardo, and thank you for having me here. Yes, well, that's not a simple question, or the scaling up, because, well, we all know, I mean, what Sanjita and Alpha said, it's built very much the case for wastewater treatment and nutrient recovery, but nevertheless, we see that it's still, you have still a very huge gap in the SDG. You have and yeah, nutrient recovery is not really scaling up. So, I mean, building on what we know best at the European Investment Bank, meaning the European context, I think the regulation is a first key factor. You know, putting directives, what we have in Europe is the wastewater treatment directive, and then the sludge management directive, which will frame how you will reuse the sludge, because I guess in most countries now you have the wastewater treatment regulation, but maybe need to go further down to the sludge management, as well as now the EU is moving into the taxonomy discussion, where sustainable activities, and where you have 4 pillars with the water pillar, the pollution, circular economy, where we really, try to push the incentive on sludge management and nutrient recovery. And for instance, in Germany, there will be prescriptions so that by 2029, phosphorus recovery will be, I mean, not sure, but kind of mandatory in the sludge treatment. All this regulation, obviously, if you want to enforce them, if you want to implement them, it comes with money, and it comes with financing. And here, well, I mean, at the European Investment Bank, we are very eager to invest in sanitation. I mainly deal in sub-Saharan Africa operation, and to say the least, it's still difficult. I mean, difficult. It's still not very common to invest in sanitation. The first priority, obviously, is water access, and sanitation, especially urban sanitation, given the investment amount, the footprint for the sewer, for the wastewater treatment plant, and then the plan for using the sludge, are still a huge challenge in terms of investment volume. But for example, I mean, we are having a few sanitation projects in Rwanda, where we will be investing with the African Development Bank in the first wastewater treatment plant, centralized wastewater treatment plant of Kigali. In Mwanza, we're also expanding the wastewater treatment plant, as well as Lusaka. And with all this investment, what we're trying to have is to always build on a sludge management plan, monitoring how nutrient will be recovered, because the first simple, let's say, least technological way of recovering recoverment is agriculture use, but then you need to set up a monitoring, specific monitoring plan to monitor the impact of heavy metals, etc. So I guess this is one of our examples. Then if we go back to Europe, in Germany, we're also investing in the wastewater treatment plant in Hamburg. That will be the first, let's say, industrial phosphorus recovery through ashes of sludge. So a wide range of investment in the nutrient recovery sphere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. So if I hear you well, indeed, first and foremost, it's always a question of governance and implementation of regulations. And then paired to that comes the question on financing and scaling up these sorts of intervention. But I think it was very interesting to hear also the good examples that you have in the pipeline. Indeed, also from our experience, sanitation, wastewater management, it's always a bit of a struggle to put up on political and practical agenda. The wind is changing. Events like this, I think, demonstrate indeed the need and the demand for this kind of discussions and also practical interventions then. So I'm very, very happy that we had a chance to discuss this. You won't believe, but it's already time to dive into our wrap-up of our short but very interesting event. So I want to, first of all, thank the panelists, Sangeeta, Emmanuel, and Olfa for being with us today. We look forward to continuing working with you. Heidi, for your remarks. And now I want to introduce Professor Ramesh Ramachandran and Aslihan and Dr. Aslihan Kerj, who are indeed the chair and the chairs actually of the Global Partnership on Nutrient Management and Global Wastewater Initiative. And I want to simply invite them to give us some feedback and some closing remarks. Thank you very much, and over to you, Ramesh.
Thank you, Ricardo. Distinguished participants, the panelists, and also the colleagues from the UNEP. As we approach the conclusion, which is an insightful discussion, I can say that I want to express my really heartfelt gratitude to each one of you, especially to Aslan, to Heidi, and the panelists, and particularly to the moderator, Ricardo, for all the active participation. Your actually presence here today signifies a shared commitment in addressing the most pressing environmental challenges of our time. Our collective dedication in finding the innovative solution is truly inspiring. So what I could say here, we have explored the critical issues of surrounding the wastewater and nutrient management, the numerous opportunities that lies around, and the challenges and opportunities we have discussed, the best practices, and also we heard about some of the good examples of financing. So we witnessed how nutrient recovery can only benefit the environment, but also offers economic advantage and contributes to a more sustainable future. So here I would like to leave away with the three key takeaway from this important, very short discussion. The first one is there is an urgency of this challenge. This cannot be overstated. This is a real urgency. The impact of nutrient pollution of our ecosystem, both in terms of water quality, in terms of public health, is a crisis that need immediate attention and connected and concerned action. And the good news, we have the tools, knowledge, and expertise to take the difference. The second aspect is looking at the collaboration, which is a linchpin of our success. None of us can tackle this issue in isolation. We require the partnership, either of the government or industries or NGOs or the research communities. Together we can harness and implement the effective solutions. And finally, we can also innovate in our greatest asset. We can see how technologies like nutrient recovery systems, sustainable farming practices, and circular economy approaches can revitalize how to manage wastewater and nutrients. By fostering innovation and supporting this research, we can unlock new possibilities and drive it progress. I think with this concluding remarks, I just thank every one of you, and together we can turn the tide on nutrient pollution and build a world where wastewater is no longer a problem, but a valuable resource. Thank you for all your participation. Thank you. Over to you, Ricardo.
Thank you so much, Ramesh, for your insightful remarks. And Aslihan, we have only 2 minutes, but please, yes, over to you, and thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. I also would like to thank all the participants, panelists, for sharing their experiences in wastewater treatment and also in nutrient management. And also I would like to thank all the participants, audience, who are together with us in this important session. As you have seen, we have organized under the umbrella of UNEP this session as Global Wastewater Initiative and Global Partnership on Nutrient Management. So UNEP foresees the importance of these topics and to collaborate, to link these topics. So we cannot consider wastewater management anymore without considering nutrient management. And we are seeing the importance and need for this linkage in the recent years more and more. And we are in a paradigm shift, not to see wastewater as only a pollution source, but an important resource. So I like the phrase using as resource recovery. So we are considering wastewater treatment as a resource recovery, an important resource for sustainable agriculture, for circular economy. We have seen good examples of this. Unfortunately, the time is up. I'm sure that we will be discussing these issues more and more in many other sessions in different events. We hope to come together with you again on the future events in different platforms. Thank you for all for joining us, and hope to see you in the future. Thank you very much. So this is the end of our session for today.